they encourage me to be who I am, because I really am doing and experiencing things that so many other Black women are experiencing. But unfortunately, their stories aren't highlighted. And I also took this as an opportunity to, again, flex on MAGA and let them know that I will always be smarter than you. You can call me a DEI hire all you want to and lodge all the other insults that they continuously lodge against me. But she is no match for me when it comes to intellect.
You have since called her racist, Congresswoman Green. I want to understand your perspective of this. Do you think her going after your eyelashes, that in itself is racist?
I think her specifically doing it to me, yes, that was the intent. As has been stated, you know, women wear makeup, we wear lashes, we wear all types of things to beautify ourselves. But MAGA has historically been on social media doing the things where they're saying, oh, she's Black with lashes and nails and hair, and so she's ghetto. And so to me, this was her buying into that rhetoric and trying to amplify this for the MAGA crowd. And so, yeah, I absolutely think that she only did it to be racist towards me. Bleach blonde, bad built, butch body. Very good.
So it's tough to say, but you've really embraced what you said. You're printing it on swag. I think we have an image of the shirt here that you're selling to help raise money to elect Democrats. How would you respond to say it's inappropriate to respond to an attack on somebody's physical appearance? And you hear Congresswoman AOC say, you know, you shouldn't be attacking somebody's physical appearance, but then you did the same thing. You attacked her physical appearance. So to be clear, what I asked for was clarification on the ruling. Yeah, and I hear that, but she went after your appearance, and then like you went back at her 1,000-fold.
I did, in a very lawyerly way.
But do you?
All right, guys, so hopefully this is the last time that I talk about what we all, I think, can agree is a pretty disgraceful situation that happened on the floor of Congress between Marjorie Taylor Greene, Jasmine Crockett, and AOC. And I think what's even worse that you have the mainstream liberal media coddling some of these Congresswomen who are boohoo whining crying victim in racism in order to avoid accountability and criticism of them and the fact that they acted very ghetto or they engage in ghetto behavior in Congress, right? And the mainstream liberal media is helping them, you know, cry the victimhood tears to try to pretend like they was done so wrong in order to raise money for the Democrat Party. And I told you guys that that's exactly what would happen as a result of this conflict, is that the people that are boohoo whining crying victimhood and racism would turn around and then essentially monetize that and to raise campaign donations, because again, this is what we're rewarding nowadays in Congress, right? People who act up, okay, who engage in ghetto behavior in Congress, we're rewarding that, right? We are applauding it and saying it's okay, because if you criticize it, then you're selling out, you hate Black women, you know, etc., right? This is what they say. Now, I am revisiting this topic once again because the left has shown that unless you side with them 100%, right? Even if you are looking at a situation objectively and you're holding everybody accountable, if you refuse to unequivocally stand behind the so-called Black woman or the so-called women of color, then you're going to be seen as somebody that is siding with the enemy, right? You're siding with Marjorie Taylor Greene, which is what the left is accusing John Fetterman of doing, because he decided that, hey, I'm not going to defend what is indefensible behavior, ghetto behavior, from AOC, Jasmine Crockett, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? He says, I'm going to condemn the behavior across the board because it was just wrong. Everybody in that situation was wrong for what they did and what they contributed to the chaos. And apparently, again, the left, they're taking this as an attack on Black women, right? And you know what happens when you criticize Black women. The Captain Save Us Shaniqua super simps come out the woodwork and they attack you because you're criticizing Black women, okay? And of course, the attacks are never about the argument. It's always about everything else except the argument, because they don't really have an argument. But this is what happens, right? And you have Black women get upset because, again, if you're a Democrat, you're always supposed to stand behind so-called women of color, even if they are in the wrong. Or else, again, you're siding with Marjorie Taylor Greene. You're siding with the enemy if you look at the situation objectively.
John Fetterman, you got a lot of mother audacity to sit up there and talk shit about what's happening in the House. Of course, trying to pile on to the backlash to your Black and Latina colleagues. And basically siding with that gutter snipe, bleach, blonde, bad built, botched body ass Marjorie Taylor Greene. Explain yourself as to why you feel the need to side with that over your own Democratic colleagues. You are the last mother in the two chambers of Congress that needs to be talking about decorum. Don't you be on here on your official Senate page talking shit, cussing and shit? Since you think it's okay to attack a Black woman congresswoman's appearance, somebody in your own party, then why don't we talk about your appearance? Let's talk about how you look like a Neanderthal in basketball shorts, a hoodie, and flip-flops. Let's talk about how if a Black man was walking around looking like you'd probably hold his ass at gunpoint like you did with the Black man when you were a mayor of Pennsylvania. Let's talk about how the motherfucking Senate tried to accommodate you because you're a white man who didn't want to follow the rules that existed, and they degraded the dress code, but you took it so far looking like a slob, making the Senate look like somebody's dirty-ass rundown gym in a dirty-ass rundown town that they had to backtrack on it. So we don't need to have a conversation about respectability, decorum, because you have none of those things. So people in glass houses should not mother rocks, John Fetterman.
Yeah, so I wish that she applied that standard to Jasmine Crockett, who, again, you know, was throwing stones that I don't think she should have been throwing about Marjorie Taylor Greene's body, but hey, that's neither here nor there. But regardless, what you guys see is the very toxic ideology on the left, which is that you have to stand with Black women no matter what, even if they are in the wrong, right? Even if they are clearly wrong, you have to stand with them no matter what, or else you're the enemy, right? There is no room for debate, okay? There's no room for disagreement. There's no room for dissent, because this man took what I believe to be a very neutral stance of saying, hey, you know, I used to say that Congress was like the Jerry Springer show, but now I have to apologize to the Jerry Springer show for making that comparison, right? Because he's saying that Congress is out of control. He's not taking sides. He's holding all parties accountable, okay? Marjorie Taylor Greene, AOC, and Crockett, right? But again, according to the left, right, that's seen as an attack, right? He is attacking Black women because he's not siding with them and their nonsense and their foolishness, right? This is extremely toxic stuff. There are individuals within the Democrat Party on the left side of the aisle that no matter what they do, no matter how much they're in the wrong, they cannot be criticized simply because they're a so-called person of color. They have infinity stones of wokeness. Any criticism of me is a form of hate and bigotry. You must hate me because of my characteristics, because you are holding me accountable, right? There is no accountability for these individuals, okay? This is what you're saying. So, again, John Fetterman has responded because AOC was upset by this, okay? Because, again, apparently both sides here seems to be a form of racism and misogyny, right? This is the left. This is how they think.
So you responded to all of this by saying, in the past, I've described the U.S. House as the Jerry Springer show. Today, I'm apologizing to the Jerry Springer show. Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez responded by saying, quote, I understand you likely would not have stood up for your colleague and seem to be confused about racism and misogyny being a both sides issue, but I stand up to bullies instead of becoming one. Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez seems to be suggesting that you're a bully.
Oh, well, of course, that's absurd. I was just simply responding to the kind of chaos and everything that Representative Greene started as well. And if everyone...
You know what's so funny about this? All these people come up here and keep talking about how Marjorie Taylor Greene started it. And it's like, well, if you actually look at the clip, watch how the conversation unfolded before Marjorie Taylor Greene said what she said, which I'm not defending. She should not have said what she said, even if it was a fact. She should not have said that, right? Jasmine Crockett decided to ask Marjorie Taylor Greene the question of, do you know why we're here? Okay, as a way to try to discredit Marjorie Taylor Greene and the legitimate questions that she was asking about Democrats, their conflict of interest, right? Because what we see happening with that trial up in New York and the overt corruption from Democrats that are working basically on behalf of the prosecution, That's something that I think should be brought attention to, okay? And that's what Marjorie Taylor Greene was doing. And this woman basically tried to insult Marjorie Taylor Greene by asking that question of Marjorie Taylor Greene when she really, I don't think, should have said anything at all, because if Marjorie Taylor Greene was out of line, I don't think it's up to her to correct Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? That's up to the people that are running the meeting, right? But she decided to interject herself in that, and Marjorie Taylor Greene insulted her back, okay? And people can say what they want, right? But I just love how this has all been framed as Marjorie Taylor Greene started it. And it's like, well, that's not exactly true, because Jasmine Crockett stuck her nose into something that she didn't have to stick her nose into, and Marjorie Taylor Greene responded. So it is what it is, right? It is what it is. Regardless, again, not defending any of them, right? All of them were wrong. And the crazy thing about, again, what you see with left-wing politics versus right-wing politics is that on the right, you're allowed to say that, right? You're allowed to say everybody was wrong, including Marjorie Taylor Greene. Her comment was inappropriate. They all should be ashamed of themselves. You're allowed to say that. And if you say that, people are not going to say that you're selling out, right? They're going to say, okay, well, that's fair. I might not necessarily agree with all that, okay? Or you might place more blame on this person or that person. But again, you're not going to get this type of backlash, right? When you're accused of siding with Democrats, okay? Because on the right, you're allowed to freely think, and we're allowed to criticize each other, especially when we do wrong, because accountability is important. Look what happened to Lauren Boebert. When Lauren Boebert had that little incident in the theater, a lot of people on the right held her accountable by saying, this is not how you act as a member of Congress, right? This is what people were saying. But on the left, that type of accountability is not allowed when it comes to their politicians. They're not allowed to hold their politicians to a higher standard, right? They're not allowed to do that. If you're black, right? If you're a woman, no, you can't be criticized, okay? And that's what you're seeing here. That's the difference between the left and the right. On the right, you're allowed to freely think and to criticize when we do wrong, right? And you're seeing the difference here, okay? John Fetterman didn't say anything wrong. But again, the mistake he made was that he didn't come out here and to unequivocally side with the black woman, right? He has to side with her and her ghetto behavior, or else he's a sellout, okay? He's siding with Marjorie Taylor Greene, okay? He's weaponized his whiteness. You know the things they accuse people of doing, okay, when you don't agree with Democrats. So yeah, this guy, he's getting a whole lot of backlash for objectivity, for daring to hold a so-called woman of color accountable. You can't do that. That's a forbidden sin in the Democrat Party. You can't do that, boy.
And on the committee was proud of what they've produced, they're entitled to their opinion. Or if they feel that this is the kind of a video that you want to send to a classroom of 8th grade civics kind of students across America, again, that's their choice. Now, to me, that's their choice. But if I'm going to push back against anything, it's going to be pushing back against Hamas. And not vote against Israel. And I'm going to push back against Putin. I'm not going to vote against the aid for Ukraine the way Representative Greene has done. And then I'm also going to push back against the TikTok vote as well. And now TikTok is essentially a Chinese communist government asset.
Mm-hmm. The corruption trial for your fellow Democratic Senator Bob Menendez across the...
Yeah, so again, here you have John Fetterman. Hey, I don't necessarily agree with everything he says, but, the guy seems to be reasonable, right? To a certain extent, on certain things, right? On certain things, every now and then, he seems to be reasonable. On some other things, like abortion, for example, totally unreasonable, right? But what you have here is the left destroying John Fetterman, right? Because he's not siding with a black woman, even though she's clearly in the wrong. They're all in the wrong. I think they all deserve condemnation. But again, if you're on the left and you say that, then, this is how they treat you, right? They say you're a bully, racist, sexist, misogynist. They do all that stuff. And I just find it to be hilarious how John Fetterman is getting this treatment for simply being neutral, right? Calling things down the middle, trying to be objective when it comes to analyzing that situation. It just shows you, again, freedom of thought is not allowed on the left. There are just, groups of people on the left that can't be criticized no matter what, okay, or unless you are a bigot. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.